And we are live. We are live in different places thanks to the magic of StreamYard. And it's my first guest interview for the Hearts in Business, but we're also in Winning Women, and I believe we are on YouTube as well. So a lot of exposure there. So for the people who don't know me, I'm Elaine Musso, and I run the Hearts in Business. The Hearts in Business are there to help people to be more visible online, more especially small-hearted businesses. And today we have Rosemary Cunningham, that a lot of you know, who is a business and money coach, who's helped people who are money blocked, who has helped people with business blocks as well. And Rosemary is, as in the last few months, I've embraced LinkedIn very much and use LinkedIn to help with their business. And we wanted to know a bit more about that. But maybe first you can introduce yourself, Rosemary. Tell us a few things about you and what you do.
Thank you.
Now, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. Well, I've had my own business for 28 years this year, and Winning Women's actually 8 years old this month, which is interesting, isn't it?
Oh, 8 years. Oh, God. Yeah, long time.
8 years this month. Was you came right at the beginning, didn't you? So
that's where we right. So I would have been there. For the people who don't know, Winning Women is an amazing platform. It's a networking group online, so you can go and talk to people on a platform, Winning Women SX or Winning Women International, you call it now, I think, aren't you? Because it's free networking group a month, and if you've never been, it's wonderful. Before you get on, Rosemary, anyone who needs to comment, which is lovely, I've got a comment there. It'll be nice if you actually signing into StreamYard so we know who you are. Otherwise, you're labeled as Facebook user, which is a little bit boring, isn't it? Not very personal. So please log in. It should be there on the stream. You should be able to do that. I'll be really kind. Rosemary, I interrupted. Go for it.
That's all right. Yeah, so I'm now doing almost exclusively business and money coaching for women. I say that because I've got a couple of clients who've been coming to me for years for massage, and they've kind of re-emerged and said, can I have a treatment? And it was because it's not what I do all the time now. I don't treat 30 people a week. It's still fun to see the occasional client. And it reminds me of when I was nursing, and the people who were in admin every now and again used to go and see people on the wards because it's just keeps you in flow. And I work with a lot of therapists, obviously, because I've been a complementary therapist 20 something years. And my speciality now is to help heart-centered business women really find our purpose and bring all those different pieces of us into our business. There's been times when I felt like I'd almost been cut down the middle, and this part of me was doing coaching and this part of me was doing healing work, and often it can be a challenge to bring them together. And people say to me, there's all these different bits and I don't know how to bring them into one pot. So that's my speciality. And then the other thing I do with my clients, I love to work with people for 3 to 6 months to really help you put those business building blocks down so business can flow without being a big worry and a challenge all the time. And I think there are so many shoulds now. And I hear people say, oh, I should be doing Instagram and I should be doing Twitter. And it's, no, you don't. There's no shoulds. There's what lights you up. What do you enjoy doing for marketing your business? Is it writing? Is it making videos? Is it going on Clubhouse? For some people, they love to chat to people all day. So Clubhouse is an absolute dream. And finding just those couple of things that you really enjoy and sticking with them and mastering them. You can see something like Clubhouse, you can see that people who've mastered it have got thousands of followers because they've just dropped into that role. And that's when I started my business.
That's very, very interesting because I think, Rosemary, it's thinking about more strategically as a solo business, especially as a small business, so where you are going to put your efforts. And instead of wanting to go to all of them and thinking I've got to know everything, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now Clubhouse, and I'm sure I've missed a few. It's more thinking, as you said, where does it, where am I comfortable, I suppose, where where I can shine, and how you can do it. Obviously, we miss videos and lives, isn't it? But some businesses, they don't need to do videos and lives, so but that's fine, isn't it? And obviously,
And what can you enjoy?
it's yeah, what do you enjoy? And also, I think it's in terms of not getting into overwhelm, isn't it? Because you can suddenly thinking, oh, I've got to be there, I've got to be there, and then you're thinking, oh, where am I? And you don't know. You know, I think we all have done that, where we think we, as Lisa sometimes says, it's having the shiny object, you know, for a while. Clubhouse, everyone should be on Clubhouse. Well, yeah, maybe, as you say, but not necessarily for every temperament, isn't it? It's not for everyone. So it depends what, you know, how you shape your message and how you want to be seen. So that's a very, very interesting one. Obviously, Winning Woman is very much on Facebook, but you're sort of moving or now working a lot on LinkedIn. So tell us a bit more about what you've learned from, you know, being more present on LinkedIn and on maybe also the differences between Facebook and LinkedIn, because obviously Facebook we are at the moment, you know, streaming on Facebook, but some people might be, you know, should maybe look at LinkedIn and maybe tell them why they might need to look at that. I'll let you get on, Rosemary.
LinkedIn's full of surprises. It started off as a platform where people went to get a job, and it's grown from there. I think that must have been about 15 years ago. So we've got it in our heads. It's a very corporate platform, but I've seen more and more people sharing much more kind of personal posts, but related to your business. So it's a bit like you can mix your Facebook with your business to a certain extent. You can't be purely business on your Facebook page, otherwise you could get kicked off. But people are, there's a certain blend. I think it's an 80-20, 20% business, 80% personal. It needs to be. And LinkedIn are actually, there's an announcement coming up. They are starting to want to restrict the personal stuff more again, because a couple of weeks ago it seemed to be that the personal stuff was more acceptable, and now it seems that you've got to really wrap it around your business. And I'll give a couple of examples of this. There's a young woman then called Phaedra, and she makes the most phenomenal shoes that are designed for brides for Disney weddings. Somebody wants a bit of Disney in their wedding, and she's there a lot, but she's also quite prolific on other platforms. And I can see that you can do things in three ways. You can drop something into Facebook, and then you can go straight to LinkedIn, and then you can do straight to Instagram. But something I have learned about LinkedIn particularly is it doesn't like you using systems like Hootsuite. Apparently you get penalised if you put it through a planner. Yeah. So I've been working with a woman called Jill Chitty for 3 months on LinkedIn, and I'm working for another 3. And it's been a very steep learning curve. And I have a kind of a routine that I do on there every day, which is working very well for me. I'm making a huge amount of contacts, but you have to be consistent. So what I was going to say for anyone who's listening to this, particularly from the HIB group, is you've got to commit to being there consistently. I think the one thing that it would help anyone to have is a half decent profile. But if you want it to work for you, it's got to be, I show up regularly, because what I'm seeing is people I know posting stuff, or more often than not, it's their virtual assistant posting it for them, and they're not reacting. So they're not going into other people's accounts and talking to people, which is where the gold starts. You have to get rewarded on LinkedIn, you have to go and interact with other people. So pretty much your ideal clients, really. And LinkedIn wants to know, it's recording absolutely everything. It knows who you're talking to. It knows what you're doing. And there's something called the LinkedIn SSI, which is the sales index. And it's a scale of 0 to 100%. And it monitors your algorithms. And mine, when I first went on it, when I first started working with Jill, was about 64%, which was in the top 1% of my industry, which says that coaches and consultants aren't actually very good at LinkedIn and aren't using it properly. And it's now up to 76, 77 because I'm active on there. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting results. and it monitors you on things like how much you interact with other people's posts, how much people interact with your posts. So are you getting engagement? How good your profile is, and how much you're using the LinkedIn search tools. Now, all of these things take time to learn. Yes, they do. And they take time to implement, and they take time to do properly. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of setting up, because I'm business to business, I'm a business coach for heart-centered business women, of which there are enormous quantities on LinkedIn. I'm setting my profile up as a kind of an ecosystem where I can just update and keep sharing things. So I might share something in my Facebook group on Winning Women, and then I can pop it over to LinkedIn and adjust it and put it there. There's some really clever stuff in LinkedIn as well. Things like if you put a photograph on there, say I'm promoting an event. I was part of a summit, and there were a lot of other people on that event. So I linked up with some of them, and I tagged them. You could tag up to 30 people in a photograph. So that's a lot of people. Yeah. So that means if I tag you, and you respond, if you're not a LinkedIn user, there's no point, because it will actually count against me if more than a certain amount of people who I tag don't respond, right? So you have to be quite careful who you tag. So you kind of want to know who else is a prolific LinkedIn user is actually likely to tag you, and you get to know that very quickly because you see who sees your posts. And then you can tag quite a lot of other people, and then sometimes you can do a post like that and end up with a couple of thousand views. And I've had a lot of meetings on LinkedIn now with people all over the world interested in each other's products. Don't necessarily lead to work necessarily, but my network is much, much bigger than it ever was, which from my experience in my industry means I'm more likely to be invited to events. I'm more likely to be invited to speak. I've been invited to speak in 2 or 3 podcasts from LinkedIn, all these kind of things which suit me and my industry. However, if that's not what you're looking for from your industry, quite frankly, beyond having a decent profile, I wouldn't waste my time, because people will still go and look for you there. If you go to an online networking group, chances are somebody may go back and find you on LinkedIn, because it's like another website. And once you know one LinkedIn profile, you know everyone's LinkedIn profile. You know where the testimonials are, and you know how to look at somebody's post to see what writing they've done. What I would say is it's a fantastic place for collecting stuff, but there has to be reciprocation. So you have to ask for testimonials, but you also have to give them. And a lot of people are still very shy about that, but over time we can do that. There's nice ways and means of asking for them. And of course, there's a reciprocal, and you can give a testimonial to someone you can give it to them as someone you work with. So it can be reciprocal is what I'm saying. And the other thing on there is the content side of things. If you put an article on LinkedIn, you've got a lot of words you can use. So you can have a blog from your website and then expand it, or maybe put 2 blogs together, change the wording around a bit, get your keywords in there. So for me, that would be business coach, money coach, conscious business, heart-centered business. Make sure all your keywords in there. The posts on LinkedIn shift quickly, but the articles stay forever, and they are Google optimized. So if somebody's looking for a business coach in the UK who specializes in highly sensitive people or empaths, i.e. me, I may well come up on a LinkedIn search because I've got a big long article about it, which has been optimized, which will be there forever. And then if you want to take that article and put it somewhere else at a later date, apparently now with the algorithms, you don't have to change everything, but just go through and update it and tweak it a bit and definitely rewrite the first paragraph. And then you could put it on Medium, a blogging site. You could put it on your own site. I've got an American wellness universe that I'm going to do some blogs for. I could put some of it on there. So there is this sort of repurposing. It's a mindset. It's a strategy. So LinkedIn is very much part of your strategy as a heart-centered business. But what I'm seeing artists flourish on there. They're building up their communities. The lovely
Yeah.
Fiona Watson's a great example of that. I met her on LinkedIn, and she increased her following by 500 in about 6 weeks, just by sharing her process and her art, which is her business.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's huge
But
potential, but needs to be part of the mix, and it needs to be strategic and consistent, and go back to other people's posts and comment. Without that, forget it. If you're not prepared to interact, you just want to stick a pretty thing up there, you might get something, but you won't get real traction.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned strategy, you mentioned consistency, which is often, I mean, strategy is having a plan in place in terms of what you're going to post and your ultimate aim, isn't it, in terms of building your audience, your outcome. And the consistency is often a big problem with solo businesses because they feel there's only them. But what was interesting as well, you mentioned, is the fact that in a way, there seemed to be a way of repurposing or rejigging a few things. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel at all times, isn't it? You can sort of reuse some posts and what we call now repurposing, which might sound like jargon to some people. It's actually being strategic in your contents. It's being able to create several posts, several blogs, or several things out of a similar content, and not having to constantly come up with fresh new ideas. And because being creative is wonderful, but if you have to be creative every day of the day, every minute of the day, it gets too much, doesn't it? So it's being also creative what we've got already, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like your article. That would be quite interesting to have something in depth in that. But obviously, it's a bit more. It gets a bit complex, doesn't it, in terms of fiddling with things. So you would say that. I mean, at a consistently strategy. Yeah, go ahead.
Doesn't have to be complex. Doesn't have to be. It's a mindset. I've got this piece of information. I want to update it. I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to do it. Done it. Don't faff. That's the thing, just do it. Otherwise, we'll just get in our heads. And what was I going to say?
But the other thing you mentioned, Rosemary, is also engagement. And I think, again, that's a difficult thing for a solo business, is to be there and being able to talk to people, relate to them. And I suppose the advice would be to really think again on their target market or their ideal client, isn't it? Because we could all put, react to people, think, oh, this is interesting. Occasionally we do that, but it's actually also being strategic in who we respond to. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you see what I mean? If you respond,
definitely. I see who I'm interested in, and I'll go and seek out some new people to look at their stuff, and then I'll make comments on it. There's no point just liking it. It's a waste of time. You have to comment. And when you comment on something on LinkedIn, it comes up on that person's feed. So if I comment on your article, my name comes up on your feed.
Yeah. So that's a big learning thing for our
strategy.
Yeah, that's a big thing, because some of us, we get a bit, so we'll like it, for example, but it's not enough. But then
Liking's
if
amazing.
You comment on someone, it helps both of you, isn't it? It seems to be that, because you mentioned the reciprocity of the whole thing. It seems that if you give a little bit of your effort, it comes back, doesn't it? So that's quite important. Yeah. And I think there's another thing which I found quite interesting. Say, well, once you have a profile, it's all organized the same way. Facebook is very different, isn't it? Facebook is a bit more chaotic in its approach, isn't it? I mean, sometimes you can't find things, etc. Whereas this is a little bit more organized. Would you say that, or would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, everybody's profile is the same. And I did a video in Winning Women back in January when I first started doing the course, because I could see instantly that my profile was invisible. There are certain things, almost default settings on LinkedIn, that mean your profile is invisible, or they mean that when you go onto some profile, so I go on Elaine's profile and it says you're speaking coach or something, straight away on the right hand side, which is where your eyes are automatically taken by default, there's a list which you'll see within the first 20 seconds of being on that profile, people also looked at. And it will give me a list of people like you. Yeah. And that is a default setting, and you can turn that off. So I did a quick video in Winning Women. I don't know, many people watched it actually. It was gold dust. absolute gold dust. It was 5 things that you can do straight away on your profile to be more visible or not to be invisible. And all sorts of things. And the other thing is, if you go on one of the challenges where you're being told to go and contact 20, 30, 40 people a day, whatever it is, and they don't respond, and they just sit in your inbox as requests, and that means, according to LinkedIn algorithms, you're contacting people who aren't your ideal clients. So that will count against you.
Ooh.
And people have hundreds and thousands of people who they've attempted to connect with who are still, they're waiting for them for years to actually accept. And you can just go back in and one by one delete them. And the advice is to delete anyone who's been sitting in that box for more than 2 weeks. Otherwise,
2 weeks. That's a very, very good tip, isn't it? In terms of, so someone, you've asked someone, you may be potentially even send a message or something, and they're not responding at all. They're not obviously wanting to connect. It's better to leave them, you say, within 2 weeks. Am I right?
Well, yeah, just get rid of them, and then it'll be another 3 weeks before you can contact them, but you can. But what happens, I've got friends in there, people I know from Winning Women really well, but they're not LinkedIn users. So I've sent them an invite thinking, oh, they're in my such and such. They don't respond because they don't use LinkedIn. They are the last people on earth you tag in your photo, because they just won't respond. So you kind of get to know who's there regularly, and you get to know who's doing their own posts and who's paying their virtual assistant to do it, and their virtual assistant's doing it on scheduler. But you look at that post and nothing's happened, no one's interacted, because LinkedIn will penalise you from using Hootsuite or Buffer or any of those things. Yeah. So there's a lot to it. Even Jill, who's prolific, she's got, I don't know, 30,000 followers or whatever it is. She lives on LinkedIn. She says she has Google Docs on her phone, and she sets her timer. So she posts on at LinkedIn at this time of day, and if she's in a meeting, it'll bubble up when she's got time. She'll copy her post off. She'll open up her LinkedIn on her phone. She'll copy it in. She'll put a couple of hashtags in, and it's off. And obviously we've spent time looking at our posts, what's got interaction, what hasn't, why. You can even put out tags on your photographs in LinkedIn as well. It comes up.
Can you?
So you can put your business coach, money coach, Essex, whatever it is on your picture.
On the pictures.
But it's like Facebook, things do change quickly. And of course on Facebook recently, when I first started on Facebook, 2009, 2010 probably, your business page was worth having. And now I think it's something like 4% of people will actually see your business page posts. It's negligible. Hardly worth having a business. The only reason you really I have a business page on Facebook is somewhere for people to go. And also, of course, now they've got Business Suite and they own Instagram, so you can post to those two at the same time, although they're different size pictures and it's not always simple.
It gets complicated, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit of FOMO at the beginning of the year, so I spent quite a bit of time studying Instagram and LinkedIn at the same time and using both and seeing what worked for who, where my work came from, where my most interesting contacts came from, where I wanted to spend my time, where was the easiest, most relaxing place for me to spend my time, because I want to enjoy my work.
Nice.
And they always say with Instagram, your grid needs to look attractive. Oh, goodness, try and have a flipping attractive grid. Make sure all your pictures are the same colour and in the right bloody place. Absolutely no way. LinkedIn, you've still got to be aware. Nice, bright pictures that stop people scrolling and make them look and that kind of thing, and probably a combination of business and personal. But I can do it. It works for me. It's somewhere where I'm prepared to spend my time. I still have an Instagram account, or we have a Winning Women Instagram account, but it's not my priority.
No, I think it's going back to this as a solo or small business, is where do we put our effort? And I suppose because you have to post, but also to engage, you need to be present, aren't you? You need to actually post a post and then go back and talk to people. So, and this takes time. So it's, again, I see it as not diluting your energy. It's finding, I suppose, a mixture of finding where your ideal client is, but as you say as well, are you happy enough, isn't it? Well, because if you spend quite a few hours every day on a platform, you may as well go to the one which you feel relaxed and happy, instead of thinking, oh God, I've got to do this again.
Yeah, and I look at Jill Chitty, who's kind of someone I've been following this year, and very successful business, and she built her business entirely on LinkedIn without a website for 3 years. That is how it can work. Yeah, if you're B2B, business to business, that's how you could do it. And I'm not saying you can't do it with your homeopath like our lovely Jill, or you possibly could, but I don't think so. There's still a big place for a Facebook group as well, that's why I'm running my Money Mastermind Challenge in mine this week, because they're a fantastic place to get interaction and get community going. And the groups on LinkedIn are nothing like that at all. Groups on LinkedIn, I've got a Winning Women one, but it's just dead. They just don't work. And even on Facebook, you have to put hours into your LinkedIn, into your Facebook group.
It's being aware of what you can take. And so, I suppose, as a message for everyone watching that is, it's choosing the platform which would suit you. It's being able to give the time, though, to enough interaction and engagement, because people, otherwise, as you said, it becomes dead, isn't it? And nothing happens. And then it's about yes, not diluting yourself. I'll call it like that, and being able to choose. So I suppose it's having there's sometimes the discipline to say, I'm only going to do this, or I'm sticking with this for a while, isn't it? At least up until and then you can review it. And if you think, well, actually I should be in several, because most people say you should be on 2 or 3 platforms, but it's a time factor, isn't it? And it depends on your business. It depends very much on business. So and it depends how much you need to do. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think you can do two well, and you can change that. You can have very similar content on both. Just tweak it. And also, the time factor has to be built in. It's got to be strategic. Jill has a thing she calls the LinkedIn cuppa routine, morning cuppa routine. So the time it takes you to drink a cup of coffee slowly, you have about 5 things to do on LinkedIn. And once you've set up your kind of ecosystem, you're in there, you're watering it and you're tweaking it and you're checking it over. And then every now and again, you go and have a big blast. Or maybe once a week, you maybe put your post on 3-4 times a week. And then on the first Monday of the month, you put an article in there. And that could be an accumulation of what you've been writing during the week and during the month. And then one of the suggestions from her was that you write your posts and you send them back to your article for more information. For more information, go and see my article here.
Yes, so some more opportunities for people to have a look at your profile, at your article, and try to have a look. So it's again another technique and another tip. I like the fact, the sort of the ecosystem, as they call it. And I'm thinking what I possibly will adopt is this sort of, for me, it's a little bit like brushing your teeth, isn't it? I mean, I'm not getting any younger, and so I've got to brush my teeth 2 minutes plus use the little brushes and all the things. So actually, by the time I've done it, it's a good 5 minutes of my time, and it's fine because I need to do it to preserve my gums, etc. But in a way, if you can think of the same thing, isn't it? It's a little habit. So if you have 10 minutes, you just say for between this, this back time, maybe just after brushing your teeth. I don't know exactly when, you decide, but having this little 10 minutes and keeping at it. And I think that's possibly the hardest sometimes as a solo business, again, is to organize it. It happens when you go to an employer, don't you? You have to be at a certain place, or you have to start at a certain time and finish at a certain time, and you have to be. Whereas there, you have to monitor your own time, aren't you? So you have to think what could help you. And I think, and not making it too big, I suppose, Rosemary. When you start, if you want to start on LinkedIn, what would be the first thing? Maybe work on your profile first of all. What would you recommend if it was one thing they need to start with? Because that's also the big thing. We say, oh yes, another thing I need to do, but then you don't get down to it because it looks too big, doesn't it? So what would you suggest people start with?
Well,
on
it's
LinkedIn?
got to be a profile that's aimed at your ideal clients, that really describes what you do and who you do it for, and with some social proof, with some decent recommendations on there. And when you go down on the profile, you can put links to books you've written, you can put links to your voluntary work, all this kind of stuff. So it does something. I think we spent 2 weeks doing, or maybe longer, doing our profile and writing the about. The about section is not about you, it's about what you do and who you do it for. And this is a mistake you sometimes see. It's all about me. No, it's about what you do and how you serve people. That's the about section. That's the main one. And it's about getting your keywords in there as well, knowing what your keywords are and getting those in there. So yes, filling that out, getting some decent recommendations. If I ask someone for a recommendation, I'll first and foremost ask them to put it on LinkedIn, and then you can copy it from there into other places. And the other thing that I've learned that LinkedIn's really, really good for is to do a poll. If you want some opinions about something, not saying you'll get hundreds of people looking at it if you're never on the platform, but what did I do one on?
I think you have done one, and I've noticed people do quite a lot. And actually, even if it's nothing to do with you, I have a tendency to answer because it's so easy, isn't it? You just click. So
and it's asking questions of your network as well, because I've had this challenge coming up this week, and I wanted to put something on, but promotions on LinkedIn just don't work. There's no point just advertising on there. People don't respond. It's not what they're there for. So you have to put something into a conversation. And the way it was Jill actually who suggested I did it. I mean, if you really want to master LinkedIn, go and have a look at Jill Chitty. Her masterclass is just phenomenal. It cost me about £1,200, but it will probably be one of the best business investments I've made over time. And I'll be teaching it in short things because I now know what I needed to know to help someone in maybe 3 weeks to do something specific. I'll probably offer some sort of short course on that coming up. But yeah, she suggested, what was I going to say? We've got, that's right, the poll. I did a poll about working hours over the last year. Have people been working more, less, the same? It was so revealing. And then I did another post about my challenge, and Jill said, this is what I was trying to think of. Jill suggested I ask for advice. Just say, LinkedIn community, help me here. I've got my first ever challenge this week. I know a lot of you have done them. What would be your advice? And it was slow. It didn't come through quickly, but I've got 6 or 7 really rock solid comments from people who I've kind of haven't quite met, but yeah. And what I'm going to go back and do one on now, I've been mulling it over for ages, is about holding a retreat, because I was going to do 2 last year. And I'd like to do at least 1 this year. So I'm going to go and do a poll on there. Say, are you running retreats? If so, would you rebook them and give people 5 or so different options, and just, they're there for a week. And it means you link up with other people who run retreats, because it will be shown to people who run retreats or who are looking for retreats. That's the way the algorithms work. And just trusting it, really. And you can get a couple of thousand views on a poll over the course of a week. And it could be something really simple. One of my colleagues, Paula, did one. She was 7:20 and she was pouring her 3rd coffee, and she asked people about their coffee consumption. Jill did one about afternoon naps. She said she found she was exhausted. I nap all the time during the day. It's just what I do. It's me. But she didn't. And she wanted to know what everyone else did. And I think she got 8,000 views. So
yeah, and it's another way, I suppose, of getting people engaged, isn't it? Because people obviously interact, but in sort of more light-hearted way sometimes as well, because it feels, it's not too formal, it's not too, so it's another way. And I think this is a big thing about visibility, which I think we all have times when, it's always thinking about engagement and talking to people. And I suppose allowing enough time in the week to have this moment where you're going to have a bit of a discussion, you're answering posts, you talk, you comment, etc. And as I said, a lot of the time it's about consistency, isn't it? And having the strategy overall. This has been really, really good, Rosemary. Thank you so much. You mentioned obviously you're very, really pleased that you're here with us. But obviously, you mentioned your challenge this week. Would you just giving one or two things for the people who haven't joined, so that potentially they can join if they haven't? Because Rosemary is amazing. So tell us a bit more. What is the challenge about?
It's called a money mindset reboot, because at the moment there is so much negativity about money around. No one's got any money, all that stuff. Absolutely untrue, totally untrue. But we keep hearing it, so we tend to buy into it, and it becomes our reality. And so this is a kind of a bit of refresh and a reboot. Today's day one. I make a video every day, and if you sign up, you have to sign up with your email. You get the video in an email every morning. So today it was about looking at your finances. Is your one of the things was to do an exercise looking at your purse. What would your purse say about you? Is it full of stuff, or has had it a nice spring clean lately? Looking at your relationships, is there a conversation you've been avoiding? Maybe that was. And then there's a homework post in the group where you can go and post your homework. Last time I looked, about 8 people have put their information in there. 80 people have signed up for it, so I'm really pleased. About 80 women. Yeah, and tomorrow we're doing money beliefs. We'll be looking at what our money beliefs are, where they've come from, because that will really feed into our self-worth. We'll be looking at the value of what we do for our clients. Are we producing just a simple bracelet, or are we giving someone something that's going to light them up, or be the most phenomenal gift that changes someone's world, that kind of thing. Now, the real value of what you do, is it the £10 that they spend on it, or is it, how are you valuing your time, that kind of thing. And that'll do.
I have done in the past, for anyone who's listening, obviously some of Rosemary's work on money, and it is life transforming. A lot of people, you put money in perspective. In my case, it's really helped me to be more relaxed about money, and I have this big mantra that money always comes. Money, has it written, comes to me unattached and conditionally, that type of thing. And I must admit, when this mantra comes, it comes on my phone once a week, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, actually, every time I say, well, I just need a bit of this, a bit of that, it happens. So, and it's not always immediate success, but it's quite nice. So, and I know it's thanks to you, Rosemary. So I would definitely join, if you can join the challenge this week. I think I have joined, but don't seem to have received the first email. But I'm sure it must be sitting in my inbox.
I don't think you've joined. I don't think you've joined. Can I put the link into it somewhere, please?
Yeah, we will have to put the link post afterwards. So once you see it on Winning Woman, or I'll put it, if you send it to me as well, I will put it in the other places these videos come up, so that people can still sign up. I want to say a huge thank you to Rosemary. My work is about visibility, especially on Facebook Live and videos, which a lot of people are dreading to do. And I will also put my link, because I'm running a Facebook Live extravaganza at the end. No, I always have to say at the end, but it's actually at the beginning of May, the first week of May. So we've still got time, but if some of you want to sign up, I will put the link later on as well. So on this, thank you so much. I was looking at text. Kelly joined us for a while. I think a lot of people have said to me that they will watch it on replay later on. Thank you so much, Rosemary. Thank you for coming here. And I will see you very soon, I'm sure. We see each other all the time. If you want to join and see Winning Women, join. I'll put also the link of the group. Because yes, it's going in different places. So if some people want to join Winning Women in terms of joining the networking. Okay, Kelly said thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Rosemary, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.